She walked out to buy cereal and never came back. It was a quiet November night in 1994 when 13-year-old Lindsay Rimer left her house in Hebden Bridge to pick up a box of cornflakes from the local Spar shop. Just an ordinary errand. She was seen on CCTV, paid for the cereal, and left the store. That was the last time anyone saw her alive. Months later, her body was found submerged in the Rochdale Canal, weighted down with a 20-pound stone. She had been strangled, and for 30 years, no one has ever been charged. Not a single person. Even with a full DNA profile, even after arrests, even after thousands of interviews. What really happened to Lindsay Rimer? And why has her killer never been brought to justice? Hebden Bridge wasn't the kind of place where things like this happened. Tucked into the hills of West Yorkshire, it was known for its tight-knit community, cobbled streets, and calm pace of life. People didn't lock their doors, kids walked to school alone, neighbors looked out for each other. Lindsay Rimer lived there with her parents Glyn and Geraldine and her 3 siblings. She was just like any other teenager, bright, responsible, a little shy. She had a paper round. She liked school. She loved her family. On the night she disappeared, Lindsay had helped her brother with homework and then told her mom she was going out to the shop for some cereal. She did this all the time. It wasn't strange. It wasn't risky. Nobody thought she was walking toward her death. That simple errand changed everything, not just for her family, but for the entire town. Hebden Bridge would never feel safe again. The timeline that night was tight and eerie. At around 10 in the evening on November 7th, 1994, Lindsay left her home on Cambridge Street. She headed toward Crown Street. The local Spar shop was still open. On her way, she passed by the Trades Club, where her mother was having a drink. Lindsay poked her head in for a quick hello. Minutes later, at exactly 10:22, she was caught on CCTV inside the Spar. She bought the cornflakes. Nothing seemed off. She wasn't with anyone. She didn't look scared. She just paid and walked out. That's the last confirmed sighting of Lindsay Rimer alive. What happened next is a black hole. No one saw her walking back home. No one saw her speak to anyone. No screams, no struggle. She vanished between the Spar and her front door, barely a 5-minute walk. And just like that, she was gone. At first, nobody panicked. When Lindsay didn't come home that night, her parents assumed she'd gone straight to bed. It had happened before. She was an early riser, always up for her paper round. But when morning came, her bed was untouched. The cereal was missing, but her school money was still there. Her newspaper delivery bag sat by the door. Lindsay hadn't left for her route. She hadn't come home at all. The alarm bells started ringing. By midday, her parents contacted the police. But in those early hours, investigators hesitated. She was 13. Maybe she ran away. Maybe she stayed with a friend. Maybe she'd be back by dinner. But Geraldine and Glyn Rimer knew their daughter. Lindsay wasn't impulsive. She wasn't rebellious. She was dependable, responsible. If she wasn't home, something was seriously wrong. And they were right. By the end of that day, the community had mobilized. Flyers were printed. Canals and alleys were searched. Doors were knocked on. But no matter how hard they looked, Lindsay was nowhere to be found. For 5 long months, Hebden Bridge lived in limbo. There were no updates, no breakthroughs, just silence. Lindsay's face was on every wall. Her name was whispered in every shop, every pub, every school hallway. And her family? They were clinging to hope but bracing for something worse. Then, on April 12, 1995, the worst came true. A canal maintenance worker clearing debris near Rawdon Mill Lock, just a mile from Lindsay's home, noticed something under the surface. It was wrapped in plastic, tied down with a 20-pound stone. Inside was Lindsay. Her body had been underwater for months. The current had carried her downstream from where she'd last been seen. A post-mortem confirmed the truth. She'd been strangled. There were no signs of sexual assault, no defensive wounds, and no clear evidence pointing to who had done it. But what stuck with investigators and haunted the public was the deliberate way she had been hidden, weighted down, concealed. Someone hadn't just killed Lindsay. Someone had tried to erase her. As soon as Lindsay's body was found, the search for her killer intensified. West Yorkshire Police launched one of the largest investigations in the region's history. They spoke to over 5,000 people, checked more than 1,200 vehicles, reviewed every movement around Hebden Bridge the night she vanished. And one detail kept coming up: a red Honda Civic stolen from Leeds, seen in the area around the time Lindsay disappeared. Witnesses reported a bearded man driving it, trying to talk to teenage girls, acting suspicious. The car was later found abandoned, stripped and torched. Whoever used it didn't want it traced. Police put out multiple appeals. They even released an artist's sketch of the man, but nothing came of it. No one stepped forward. No arrest. No charges. As time passed, other theories started swirling. Was it someone local? Someone she knew? Someone who convinced her to take a short walk that turned into her last? Some even speculated about links to known predators like John Taylor, the man later convicted of murdering Leanne Tiernan, or John Oswin, jailed for child sexual abuse. Both were investigated and eventually ruled out. But that just made it worse, because if it wasn't them, then who? For years, the case sat cold. Then, in 2016, more than 2 decades after Lindsay's murder, there was finally a spark. Using advanced forensic technology that didn't exist in the 90s, police managed to isolate a full DNA profile from evidence linked to Lindsay's case. It was a massive step forward, the kind of breakthrough investigators and the family had been praying for. Hope flooded back into Hebden Bridge. That same year, a man was arrested in Bradford on suspicion of Lindsay's murder. The media swarmed. People thought justice was finally coming. But after questioning, he was released. Then in 2017, another man also from Bradford was arrested. Again, no charges. Again, released. Police never revealed exactly what the DNA was found on. Was it clothing, tape, plastic? They kept those details sealed. But what was clear, the DNA belonged to someone specific. Yet that someone has never been named, never been charged, never been made to answer for what happened to Lindsay Rimer. To this day, that DNA sits in a police file reel, identifiable and waiting for a match, waiting for someone to talk. For Lindsay's family, the pain never faded, it only changed shape. Her mother, Geraldine Rimer, once told reporters, "We're not looking for revenge. We just want to know what happened to our daughter." That was years ago, and they're still waiting. Her sisters Kate and Juliet have carried the torch. Over the years, they've made public appeals, walked back through the same streets, stood by the same canal where Lindsay was found. They've faced microphones, cameras, silence, and still they ask, why hasn't anyone been held accountable? West Yorkshire Police relaunched the investigation multiple times: 1999, 2016, and again in 2024 for the 30-year anniversary of her disappearance. Each time, detectives stood in front of cameras and pleaded with the public to come forward. They've offered rewards, shared timelines, released photos and sketches, and yet nothing. Detective Chief Inspector James Entwistle said it bluntly: someone knows who killed Lindsay Rimer, and they've kept that secret for 3 decades. For the Rymers, this isn't just a murder case. It's a wound that never healed. It's been 30 years, and yet the one person who knows exactly what happened to Lindsay Rimer has never spoken. So here's the terrifying question. What if the killer never left Hebden Bridge? This wasn't some random city crime. Lindsay wasn't on holiday. She wasn't out partying. She was a 13-year-old girl 5 minutes from home, doing a routine errand in a town where everyone knew her name. Whoever did this didn't just take her life. They planned to hide it. They brought something heavy to the canal. They wrapped her body. They waited until the coast was clear. That's not panic. That's cold calculation. Could it have been someone she knew? A neighbor? A face she trusted? Police have always left that door open. And if the DNA profile already exists, then why haven't we matched it yet? It only takes one slip, one person to speak, one relative to take a genealogy test, or one memory that someone has been suppressing for decades, because someone out there knows more. Maybe they saw something, maybe they helped cover it up, or maybe just maybe they've been hiding in plain sight all this time. Lindsay Rimer was only 13. She didn't go to a party. She didn't sneak out. She didn't take a risk. She walked to a shop and never came home. Whoever did this has had 30 years of silence, 30 years of living their life while Lindsay's stopped in 1994, 30 years of knowing exactly what happened and saying nothing. But here's what they don't know. Science is catching up. So is memory. So are people. All it takes is one phone call, one relative connecting the dots, one piece of information that breaks the silence. If you lived in Hebden Bridge at the time, if you saw something, if you even suspect you know who it was, now is the time to speak. Justice for Lindsay isn't about revenge, it's about the truth. And the truth, it never stays buried forever.